Oh my goodness. McLaren are doing it. Andre Stella. The problem is that if you don't address these things, honestly, they will come back. They have come back today because they were not addressed properly in the past, where there were fights with Lewis that needed to be punished in a harsher way. Oh, McLaren's going there. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. McLaren is going there. I've been so stoked for 2021 part 2. Everyone has been saying Max Verstappen is so much more mature. He's so much calmer behind the wheel. And not to say he isn't, but I was very skeptical because, everyone looks mature when you're 20 seconds ahead. But as we see today with the incident, clearly there are still some niggling yield or crash moments in Max Verstappen. He still has some to get off his chest. And today was just an incident. Ultimately, to be completely honest, I'm going to expound on this later. McLaren can't fight for the championship. Apologies. Norris can't fight for the championship. McLaren can get the constructors, but Norris, I don't think he can get the drivers. The problem here is that Max Verstappen has genuine competition. And this is something we haven't actually seen on this scale. This is literally 2021, lap after lap. They're pulling away from the rest. I mean, to be fair, they weren't that far away from like George Russell. But I guess it doesn't matter how far away they were. They were far enough, or they were close enough together to the point where definitely some fireworks were taking place. If you ask my honest opinion, Lando Norris is not scot-free. He was diving down the inside like a madman on F123, Like, it really wasn't acceptable. Going off track, locking up. I'm pretty sure he got a time penalty, even if he didn't DNF. He would have got a time penalty for track limits. So it's not like he was facing really fair like Lewis was in 2021, and then all of a sudden Max crashed into him. But as things got more aggressive, as Norris was diving down the inside more recklessly, he should have peeped the fact, that Max was closing the door harder and harder and harder. And haven't we been, begging for this? But yes, we have been owed a 2021 part 2 because, partly because everyone has been saying Max Verstappen is a whole completely new, different driver, and, he's so much better than he was in 2021 in terms of wheel-to-wheel racing and pace. So when the cars are practically equal in performance, we have been owed a battle, at least in this truncated generation of cars, and we haven't really got that. 22, 23, we didn't really get much of a tight battle in terms of the racing, maybe a couple of races, but as the season goes on, McLaren will get stronger. And from what I'm hearing, Adrian Newey isn't going to be working on the Red Bull after like the halfway point in the season, which is conveniently as well when the chokehold of the regulations for Red Bull winning are going to kick in terms of wind tunnel time. So life is going to get more difficult for Red Bull. Going to the next race, they're going to be booed. Lando Norris and Max Verstappen clearly have a fractured relationship, which I am very happy about. I am sick and tired of everyone being friends. Oh my goodness. After Miami, I was really happy Lando won. But I was kind of pissed that the fact that Max was smiling so damn hard. He came second. This was the guy that got left at the gas station for coming second. He should have been absolutely mad. He should have been fuming. But I was like, you know what? If their pace is real, later this season, he won't be smiling. And sure enough, he wasn't smiling. He wasn't ready to lay down his Red Bull so that Norris could come through no matter his pace. He was willing to fight tooth and nail. And it's about time someone did. I'll be honest with you. I'm tired of everyone being friends with each other. It makes everyone a bit too laxadays. Everyone's friends. Max Verstappen wins on a Sunday. Everyone goes home laughing and smiling. I want some championship heat. I want a Scotch bonnet in there. I want somebody to go, you know what? This weekend, I'm going to send up the inside, and whoever decides to stick their car there is going to crash with me. I want that type. And it seems like Lando Norris is the person with the car and the talent to do that. And speaking of Max Verstappen in the other end of the situation, Max Verstappen is fighting an uphill battle because his Red Bull from the start of the year till now has gradually gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. And it will continue to get weaker and weaker for the reasons I specified like 2 minutes ago with Adrian Newey and the Red Bull chokehold. Not to mention, Oscar Piastri this weekend had his lap time deleted from a minor track infringement in qualifying, which sent him down the grid. If Oscar Piastri was there, he would have completely changed the game with his strategy and pace today. He would have completely changed the game. Perez was stuck behind, on pure pace, was stuck behind a Haas. Piastri was making his way through if Piastri would have won today had he not had that track limits in qualifying. And on a track like Silverstone, Piastri is going to be a major factor in the strategy and is going to highlight once again where Perez is lacking. Because did nobody realize that Perez is literally fighting a Haas unsuccessfully for P8 or P7? It was crazy. I can't believe it. But I think now is the perfect time to ring in the fact that I said earlier that they should have signed Yuki Tsunoda and they should have dropped Perez. And you know what? I hope the money they get from Perez's sponsorships was worth it, because they're going to need it to cover the fact that McLaren are going to beat them in the constructors. I am so looking forward to Red Bull losing out in the constructors to McLaren or anyone in that matter, just because of the fact that there was no clear reason why they decided to sign Perez again. I want Perez to be the reason that they say, you know what, our cars just didn't perform today as a team. We needed to work better. I want to hear it. I live for that day. I am a massive hater. I'm a massive hater. All's fair, but I'm going to be a massive hater. I want them to not get the constructors. I'm actively happy. It doesn't need to be Mercedes. It doesn't need to be Ferrari. It can be McLaren. But I am very happy for McLaren to take away the constructors from Red Bull. Maybe next time you'll hire the driver with actual pace, not the one that can bring you the most money. But since we are throwing other teams into the mix, can someone tell me what the heck happened to Ferrari? Charles is getting lapped. I know he had an incident, but Charles is in nowhere. Like he's been nowhere ever since that Monaco win. The performance of the car, his performances, they just haven't really been there. Canada gets slapped. Austria gets slapped. That's 2 out of 3 is that 2 out of 3 in a triple header? I'm not sure, but it's a lot of races, similar to each other or close to each other, that he's getting lapped in a Ferrari. That doesn't seem to be that bad. And I know Sainz got P3 today, but in no way was that P3 like a good P3. Even George Russell's win, a win is a win, but it's not the win where you start celebrating like you went last to first. It was more like it was very fortuitous for those of you who have good English grammar. It was very fortuitous, the win for George Russell today. But that Ferrari performance is going down the drain nearly as quickly as the Aston Martin performance. Let's not even talk about Aston Martin, because Aston Martin are a different ballgame. But can someone tell me where everyone's performance is going? Because it's so unpredictable. One day, Ferrari are back. The next day, Aston Martin are P14 and Ferrari are getting lapped. Then you have McLaren, which last season were at the back of the grid for a portion, and now are basically the best team on the grid. You have Red Bull, who will have a very steady decline about to be accelerated by Adrian Newey and a budget cap. And then you have Mercedes, which I'm not even sure if Mercedes are making progress or everyone else around them isn't, because the times in which Ferrari and, let's say like Red Bull, in terms of Perez, is more competitive, Mercedes struggle those weekends. But then you have weekends in which, okay, you have Ferrari struggling, you have Aston Martin nowhere, and it's like, well, now Mercedes looks a lot stronger. And not only do Mercedes look a lot stronger, George Russell looks a lot stronger, because although this win was very fortuitous, you can't lie, he put himself in the right place at the right time, was coasting in P3 for 71 laps. And then when the right time came and the opportunity came, he was the right man to give it to, because he was there. The man was there and he's been there. George Russell has been not very consistent, but he's been relatively consistent in his pace, in terms of just race pace, qualifying pace. I know he's been doing a number on Lewis, but he's been very good with it. So, hats off to George Russell. I know Lewis Hamilton will be burning at that.